From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay, the ProFarmer Midwest Crop Tour gets into the heart of the Corn Belt.
It's the tale of two crops in Illinois this year. We'll tell you about it coming up today on AgDay.
And USDA says Iowa has some pretty good corn and soybean yields. We follow the scouts in the field to see.
But along the way, it's become about much more than just what's out in the fields.
You know, that's just one more kick to an industry that...
Well, you know, anytime that the numbers don't meet the expectations that were out there beforehand, it's going to cause reaction.
Coverage of the 2019 ProFarmer Midwest Crop Tour is brought to you by Pioneer, our premier sponsor, with support from IBM, RCIS, RAM, AeroVironment, Titan Tires, Farmable, and Farm Credit Services of America.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. We continue to bring you team coverage from the ProFarmer Midwest Crop Tour. Today is the final day of the tour. The western leg starting in Spencer, Iowa. Scouts on both legs of the tour surveying corn and soybean fields. USDA recently rating Iowa's corn crop at 65% good to excellent. Soybeans rated 61% good to excellent. The eastern leg starting the day in Coralville, Iowa. Both legs of the tour ending in Rochester, Minnesota, where all the numbers will be tallied up and we'll have the final results. And the results from day two bringing a few surprises. In Indiana, scouts calling for corn yields of 161.46 bushels per acre. USDA had forecast 166 bushels per acre in its August production report. Now much lower than in crop tours the past 3 years. Checking Nebraska's crop, scouts finding on average a yield of 172.55 bushels per acre. That's compared to USDA's estimate of 186, but it's the best we've seen on the tour so far. And checking out the soybean crop in Indiana, our people in the field putting soybean pods in a 3x3 square at 923.94, USDA calling for yields of 50 bushels per acre, but the tour numbers are far below the 3-year average. And in Nebraska, the soybeans also winning so far on the tour at 1,210.83 pods per 3x3 square. That's only slightly below the 3-year average of 1,217.72. USDA predicting 58 bushels an acre there. But amid the numbers, some tense moments on the tour. The USDA pulling all its staff from the tour after an employee received a threat. A statement coming from an administrator at USDA, quote, a USDA National Agricultural Statistics Service employee received a threat while on the ProFarmer Crop Tour from someone not involved with the tour. As a precaution, we immediately pulled all of our staff out of the event. Federal Protective Services were contacted and are investigating the incident. The safety of our employees is our top priority, end quote. Our parent company, Farm Journal, which also owns ProFarmer, releasing a statement as well. CEO Andy Weber saying, quote, for 27 years, the ProFarmer Crop Tour has been a public service for the benefit of agriculture in good times and bad. And it's clearly a stressful time right now. From minute one, we took this threat very seriously and have taken all steps possible to ensure the safety of everyone involved in the tour, end quote. Before that, the USDA chief of the crops branch for the National Agricultural Statistics Service was on the tour. AgDay's Betsy Gibbon caught up with Lance Honig. He talked about those August numbers the agency put out and the pushback they've gotten from some producers.
Well, you know, anytime that the numbers don't meet the expectations that were out there beforehand, it's going to cause reaction. Some of that can be a price reaction, it can be an emotional response, whatever it is. The expectations were for lower production than what were actually forecasted back on August the 12th. But the bottom line is that, you know, again, we based the acreage on not only survey data, satellite data, but incorporated the FSA certified acreage information.
We posted Betsy's entire interview with Lance Honig on Facebook, so you can go ahead and check that out. And Betsy right now is getting ready to start day 4 on the western leg of the tour. But before that, she got to see the situation on the ground in western Iowa, and that's where we find her. Betsy, scouts are looking for big things out of Iowa.
Well, Clinton, it's a little wet in Iowa, but that's not stopping the scouts from going into the fields. Now, USDA says that Iowa has the highest corn yield in the Corn Belt. And as for soybeans, they are tied with Illinois. And that's why the scouts want to go into the fields and see for themselves. In a year mirrored in rain, mud, and immature crops, the story may be different in pockets of western Iowa.
We had just enough heat at just the right times, just enough rain at just the right times.
Matt Chambers farms in Audubon, Iowa, and considers his area fortunate in 2019.
In 2017, we had the best corn crop we've ever had. This year, I do feel we're probably staged to be a tad better.
But not everywhere in Iowa may be as lucky. Scouts traveling west in Pottawatomie and Harrison counties are finding some different yields. Scouts say the lack of yields may be because the route is close to the Nebraska line, where both states saw flooding and excess rain.
And we had some weather patterns come through in spring that held up planting.
I thought we would see consistently over 200 yields, and it's been variable.
We saw 163 in this field. Did you expect that?
No, I figured it'd be a little bit lower than that. It was planted pretty late.
As for pods, Scouts say counts are very low along the route.
Surprised because I think our average is 9 or 9.25 on the pod counts, but we had very low.
As yields start to improve, so we're finally getting some yields in the upper 200s.
We found some really good corn, 271.28 on this stop.
These Scouts anticipate to see better numbers as they travel north. Reporting for AgDay, I'm Betsy Gibbon.
Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan taking over for me on the eastern leg of the tour, traveling Wednesday from Bloomington, Illinois to Iowa City. Tyne, Illinois saw its own share of issues this spring.
Yeah, Clinton, as scouts trekked from central Illinois to northern Illinois over into Iowa, they were greeted by rain on Wednesday. But as scouts quickly learned, it's the tale of two crops in Illinois this year.
The issues are widespread.
So this would be April 21st. Is when this was planted. This was one of our first fields.
Tracy Jones seeing an imperfect crop from the start.
The issue with our early planted stuff, because it was out there and it stood through all the rains.
Fields inundated with moisture.
So we had small spots. We didn't have large drowned out spots, but we had small spots that created a lot of moisture damage.
Creating a year of firsts.
I think we only planted 1 or 2 days in the month of May.
Forcing him to plant corn in June for the first time in his career.
And then we have a pretty good chunk, in our case, 600 acres of June corn, June 8th, 9th.
Even taking prevent plant on 20% of his acres, and it's the prevent plant piece of the puzzle plus a late planted crop, Jones says is a common occurrence in DeKalb County, Illinois.
It's a moving target. It really is. I'm actually more concerned probably about my bean yields. My beans are really short.
And from northern Illinois to central Illinois, as scouts suited up, they saw some of their best crops yet.
Well, so far we saw a pretty good bean field that we ran through a few miles back here. Some of the better beans we've seen on the crop that I've sampled on this tour anyway.
In Marshall County, Illinois, fields producing a more mature corn crop.
Pretty nice looking corn, dented finely, which has not been real common either.
Another bright spot, lack of disease and pest pressure.
There really aren't a heck of a lot of pest issues out here this year, and that's been a kind of a nice change. And it doesn't always happen that way.
Overall, a variable crop in Illinois, with scouts eager to see how the law of averages plays out this year. Now, farmers in certain areas of Iowa had their fair share of problems as well, but there are some bright spots. We'll show you the Iowa crop tomorrow morning on AgDay.
And this is generating a lot of buzz on the tour right now, the EPA's decision to waive 31 refineries from biofuel blending requirements under the Renewable Fuels standard. The EPA saying in an emailed statement to Bloomberg and Reuters, quote, there is zero evidence that EPA's congressionally mandated small refinery exemption program, which provides regulatory relief to small refineries around the country, has had any negative impact on domestic corn ethanol producers, end quote. Well, now an Iowa lawmaker is calling for a federal investigation into the decision. Democratic Representative Cindy Axne sending a letter to the EPA seeking a probe into, quote, highly questionable decision-making and misuse of the EPA's authority to grant those waivers. Now, this comes after Reuters reported on Tuesday President Trump held a 2-hour meeting with members of his cabinet after hearing of discontent from farmers groups and others over the EPA's decision. And 2 companies announcing they're cutting back on ethanol production. Marquis Energy saying it will cut production rates at its plant in Wisconsin, and Poet saying it will idle production at its processing facility in Cloverdale, Indiana. Poet CEO saying in a news release about its decision to shut down a plant, quote, "Unfortunately, the oil industry is manipulating the EPA and is now using the RFS to destroy demand for biofuels, reducing the price of commodities and gutting rural economies in the process," end quote.
Yeah, no, the industry is already down. You know, that's just one more kick to an industry that you know, largely is down right now in ag in general. You know, we did get you know, approval on E15, but that's more of a long-term thing, whereas the RIN waiver is kind of an immediate impact in this year.
And there is some movement from the EPA in regards to industrial hemp, announcing it has received 10 pesticide applications to use on hemp. The agency saying it will have a 30-day public comment period on the products. Leaders saying they're taking these next steps in order to register crop protection tools for use in time for next year's growing season. Now you can take a look at the proposed products by heading to our website, agday.com. Click on the link. Traders are watching this week's crop tour. We'll see if it had any impact on the markets. And later, playing farming simulators, getting so popular, it just got its own league. Details coming up.
AgDay, presented by the all-new Chevy Silverado, the strongest, most advanced Silverado ever.
USDA announcing a 328,000 metric ton corn sale to Mexico on Wednesday, and we finally saw grains moving into the green. Here's an update from the CME.
Today in the grain market, let's start with soybeans. It's on the rise. There's bullish crop tour findings that started with the pod setting is at 68%. That's the 5-year average is like at 85%. So we are well below that number. That definitely gave the shot in the arm that we got today. Corn was steady today. The U.S. tour forecast that the yields were going to lower the yields. Definitely kind of held the market in check. The markets have already kind of digested this information, but we're staying above that 3-month low and kind of moving sideways. I think we need a little bit more information to kind of move it one way or other. The market actually moved down after we got that whopper of a number from the USDA report last week. So today in the livestock complex, we saw cattle higher. Improved beef values have helped a lot. There's been a surge in that boxed beef portion that have increased packer margins. That's really helping and offering some underlying support. There's nice gains for the first time since July, so that's keeping the market a little bit more buoyant. Feeders were also firmed up, and that's just showing optimism is starting to gain some momentum.
Farm Journal ProFarmer Midwest Crop Tour drone coverage brought to you by AeroVironment. Maximize every acre with the Quantix and AV DSS drone and data analytics ecosystem. Proceed with certainty. Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
Meteorologist Cindy Clausen joining us with a check of weather, and I know the scouts out on crop tour yesterday started the day pretty wet, especially there in Iowa. It looks like that storm's a little south of there.
Yeah, we have seen that cold front slowly sinking to the south, but it has brought a lot of rain to some spots. Let's take a look. This front really has been the focus for showers and thunderstorms over the past few days, as we've seen not only the front, but just some upper level support kind of riding along the front as well. And we'll see a little bit more of that even as we head through today, as that front sinks slowly through the corn belt. So as we head through, we're going to be watching the rain start to move on off to the east. You've got the leading edge of the front now moving into New England, but we still see that stretching back into parts of the Corn Belt, the Ohio Valley, back into the Missouri River Valley as well. A second front over the northern plains, that's going to be slowly moving to the east as well. Overnight, we start to see high pressure coming down into the Great Lakes. We'll see some drier weather for a couple of days there. Then as we get through Friday, we'll see that front bringing some showers and thunderstorms into the mid-Atlantic and of course the southeast. You've got that heat and humidity, so you're looking for some of those pop-up showers and thunderstorms thunderstorms there as well. That front in the northern plains making slow progress into the upper Midwest. Let's look at the precipitation over the past 24 hours. It's been along that front right here, smack dab in the middle of the country. So some very heavy rainfall in Kansas, much of Missouri, parts of Illinois as well, heading into Indiana. So the next 24 hours, we're just going to really follow that front to see where that heaviest rain is, and that will continue as you get into parts of Tennessee. And it looks like we may even have some backward development there as the front sinks south over towards Oklahoma as well. Temperature-wise, we've seen some cooler air coming into the northern section of the United States, so a little bit of relief from the heat and humidity there, but we're still pretty hot down in the south, especially in the southern plains. Cooler temperatures only in the 60s in the northwest. Overnight, we're going to see those temperatures getting down mostly 50s and 60s across the northern half of the country, 70s to around 80 in most areas of the southern part of the country. And then temperatures slightly cooler for those folks in the southeast and in the southern plains, but still fairly comfortable as you get into the northern sections of the country. Jet stream still showing that little ridge there, but that trough in the northeast. We're going to watch everything progress to the east, so temperatures warm up a little bit as we get especially into the latter part of the weekend as you go into the Great Lakes in the northeast, but we'll watch this trough coming in late in the weekend and into the early part of next week, cooling things down for the upper Midwest and maybe bringing some stormy weather on the leading edge of that trough. That's a look at your national forecast. Now let's check out the weather where you live. Colorado City, Arizona, hot with clouds on the increase and a high of 96 degrees. California, Missouri, showers and thunderstorms, a high of 81 degrees. And then Indiana, Pennsylvania, scattered showers and storms with a high of 74.
Still ahead, the U.S. and Mexico finally reach a tomato deal, and the latest as the U.S. and Japan move into a new wave of trade talks. Happening today, U.S. and Japanese trade negotiators are meeting in Washington. The two sides attempting to reach a compromise on beef and car exports. Many hope the deal will involve Japan further opening up its agricultural market to American goods in exchange for some cuts to U.S. industrial tariffs. Now, Japan hoping for the final text of a deal by September. That's needed in order to obtain parliamentary approval and put any trade pact into effect this year. A developing story we're following: the U.S. Commerce Department and Mexican tomato growers finally striking a deal for a new tomato suspension agreement. The deal is for 5 years. Mexican tomato growers releasing a statement indicating the deal was reached minutes before midnight to suspend the anti-dumping investigation that was restarted May 7th. That's after the Commerce Department pulled out of a 2013 agreement. The deal includes quality inspections on 92% of Mexican tomato trucks at the border, and it lifts a more than 17% tariff on Mexican tomatoes. The Commerce Department saying the deal will benefit tomato growers here in the U.S., and the deal now faces a 30-day public comment period. An update to a story we first brought you yesterday. The man at the center of the largest organic food fraud scheme in U.S. history has died. Coroners saying Randy Constant of Chillicothe, Missouri, died by suicide. It comes just days after he was sentenced. A federal judge sentencing Constant to 10 years in federal prison for leading what prosecutors dubbed the field of schemes fraud. Constant was planning to report to prison in the coming weeks after the Bureau of Prisons decided where to place him. Now, prosecutors say Constant falsely marketed non-organic corn and soybeans as certified organic on a massive scale from 2010 to 2017. Many farmers can't wait to start every day and get out in the field, and some are doing it from the comfort of their couches. We take a look at the rise of Farming Simulator next. Do you spend all day out in the fields and then play Farming Simulator late into the night? If so, you have to check this out. Farming Simulator is now an e-sport. That's right, gamers all over the world are turning away from Fortnite and Overwatch to driving tractors, harvesting wheat, and pressing straw bales. In fact, the Farming Simulator League is set to stage its second tournament at Cologne, Germany's Gamescom trade show. And look at the game faces on these guys. Now, they take the competition very seriously, but it's all about having fun.
We want to have a non-violent game because we believe that esports can be for everyone. It's for, for families, for young people, for old people. Why not? You just need a game to prove it, and this is the game we do it with.
The league debuted last month at a two-day event in northern Germany called FarmCon 19. It was hosted by Kloss, a farm equipment supplier. One competitive player even has a YouTube channel where he regularly posts gameplay. It's had almost 80 million views. That's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. Spend part of your day with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.
Coverage of the 2019 ProFarmer Midwest Crop Tour is brought to you by Pioneer, our premier sponsor, with support from IBM, RCIS, RAM, AeroVironment, Titan Tires, Farmable, and Farm Credit Services of America.